We have here with us in the studio Raphael Adebayo, who is the National Publicity Secretary of Mumu Don't Do, a movement which is a coalition of all angry, vexed and frustrated Nigerians. Raphael, thank you very much. Welcome to SaharaTV.
Thank you.
I'd like to get a brief summary of what exactly Mumu Don't Do is as a movement.
Okay, the Mumu Don't Do movement is a social movement, a national reawakening social movement dedicated to social justice, accountability, transparency, and good governance, and fighting for a Nigeria that works for everyone, through sustained activism and a formidable coalition. The Mumu Don't Do movement aims to revolutionize politics in Nigeria by returning power to the rightful owners, the people, and this is a movement that is focused on enlisting youthful energy, to bring about a new social order in Nigeria.
When we watch the activities online of the Mumu Don't Do movement, it appears as though it's just a Lagos, Abuja type of movement. I mean, there's very little events that you do that goes into other regions of the country. Do you know?
Well, it depends on how you've been following us, but I can tell you for a fact that the movement has state chapters, not only in Lagos. We have one in Lagos here. We have the headquarters in Abuja, and we have state chapters in Benue State and in Imo State. And this year we're planning to spread our tentacles, across the country and ensure that we have more state chapters. And also, the movement is not limited to Nigeria only. We have comrades, in New York, in Sweden, in Germany, and in the United States of America. And we are looking, to spread even wider to other places, because the people in the diaspora, Nigerians living in the diaspora, they are really, really tired and frustrated of the situation in the country, and they want to see a change. And it will interest you to even know that about 25% of the registrants on our website are actually Nigerians living outside Nigeria. So that tells you how much they are willing to see a change in this country.
Casting a spotlight on the various protests you've embarked upon, what is your particular relevance for Mumu Don't Do movement? I mean, in all of the protests you've done, which particular one has set the movement aside?
Well, all our protests, all our demonstrations had a particular message behind it. So every protest that we've done, I must tell you that had a significant relevance, to the ideals of the movement. Because when we did, for instance, the resume or resign protest, when the president was out of the country for more than 90 days, and some people knew it wasn't the right thing. I mean, we were being mocked on international media, and instead of us to talk about this thing as a bad thing, most people were silent until we came out, to criticize it. And of course, we paid a very steep price for it. We were attacked on different occasions, by the state security forces and by hired hoodlums and thugs, but we remained resolute. We were unfazed by the attacks. And at the end of the day, after the concerted effort of our comrades here in Nigeria and the ones outside Nigeria, we were able to bring the president back to the country. That had a significance, and that has a message into Nigerians that, you see, these people who are leading us are not going to do anything except we ask them to do it. And it is also a reawakening kind of demonstration that we shouldn't allow an anomaly to go on for too long, because if we allow for that to happen, it becomes a disorder, and a disorder becomes even harder, to cleanse in a society like ours. So Then after that, we did the Bring Back the Zani, we did the Act or Quit thing, which was also to nudge President Muhammadu Buhari to genuinely fight corruption, as you know, almost everybody surrounding the president have been at one time or the other alleged of being involved in massive corruption scandal, and the president did not do anything about it. And so we said, Mr. President, if you're willing to fight corruption, then start, from within your own circle and let Nigerians know that you're genuinely fighting corruption. And of course, before the year ran out, we collaborated with Shega Awusonya, the convener of the NSAS campaign, to organize protest, nationwide demonstrations of protest. And it was quite a remarkable one. And we are planning to pursue that campaign even further, because the evil and the atrocities of these men have not yet been mitigated. What we want is a complete overhaul of the Nigerian police force, and for that particular unit to be scrapped, because they continue, to be a pain, a serious pain in the neck of so many Nigerians. So these are the things that we've done in the past. But of course, we have very good plans for this year, because as you may know, politicians have started, their usual transactional politics this year, being a campaign year, and they're already trying to galvanize the masses, to support them with all their ridiculous offers. They even go as far as giving the Nigerian people stock cubes, Maggi, as something to vote for them for. So we want to intensify the voters' education exercise of the movement, and we want to intensify the sensitization of Nigerians this year, because it is very critical for Nigerians to know their enemies, and for them to know that the current political power, is an elite conspiracy designed, to work against the suffering masses of this country and the common people of the country.
How is the movement going to sensitize Nigerians of voters' education? Because apparently, most of the people who would be, whose votes will be bought to be those who are the rural areas in Nigeria. How do you intend to reach out to these people and ensure that at the end of the day, there's proper voting process? Okay,
let me mention that the Mumu Don't Do movement is a grassroots movement. We believe that, as I rightly said earlier, that power belongs to the people. And if we want that to be evident in our society today, we must make it so by ensuring that from the grassroots to the highest echelon, in the political order, the people are present. The people are aware. The people are conscious of the kind of leaders, that are leading them. You see, what we want to do is to democratize politics. We are a staunch advocate of popular democracy, a democracy where the multitude are asking questions, and they are electing their leaders, according to their views and experiences, So we believe that our exercises are going to cut across. You see, the voters' education thing is very key. We need to let an average Nigerian know that, you cannot sell your vote for 500 naira and expect not to suffer for 4 years. So these are the kind of messaging we'll be pushing out. And of course, our major programs this year would be driven by our desire to see a change in the Nigerian political space by enlisting youthful energy, values, and vision, to create a new political space, a new political terrain that favors everybody, and that empowers the youth, to take charge and to lead the country, because the movement believes that the present and the future of this country lies in the hands of the exceptional youth of Nigeria.
What do you think about the Red Card movement that says they are going to issue red cards to both the PDP and APC parties?
It is a well-known fact to everybody now that the mainstream political parties today have failed Nigerians. As a matter of fact, the crop of leaders that we have in Nigeria today have failed Nigerians. And since independence, it's been a really bad situation for the common people of this country. So if the red card movement is saying that we should wear our red cards, at the mainstream political parties who have kept us in this dilapidated state, then I think it is in order. But in addition to that as well, I must also say that for us to do that effectively, every Nigerian must get their permanent voter's card. We must be able, to exercise our franchise, in a very good way that we'll be able to determine who becomes our leader, and it is really crucial. I must also mention again that the movement, is under no illusion that with what we are doing, we'll be able to encourage so many Nigerian youths, who are either being intimidated by the preponderant hegemony of the current political forces, or out of fear for their lives are hiding somewhere, that they'll begin to come out and represent their people and serve them, genuinely and selflessly, because that is what we lack in the country right now.
When you say that there is need to issue red cards to both, all the mainstream parties available, you're also agreeing that there is also need for a third force party?
Well, I must let you know that, you see, concerning the third force initiative, the movement is actually planning something in that line. And I think it is still in order to say that the movement constitutes that third force. Because if you look at the setting of the country today, the present administration has no opposition whatsoever. And that is why they can act in this kind of high-handedness and impunity that they are acting with. So when we say third force, I think that the Mumu Don't Do movement fits perfectly into that category. Only that we are pushing our messaging further in the sense that we want to initiate everybody, into the movement. We want every Nigerian out there to understand that the strategy, the deliberate strategy of the oppressors, saying to us that because I am a Yoruba man, you are Igbo man, and because you are from Isekiri or you are Ijaw, we cannot live together or we cannot fight for a better Nigeria together. It is a deliberate strategy to keep us divided. So we must rise above ethnic, religious, and political sentiment that has kept us divided for too long. And by doing so, I believe that both rich and poor will be able to fight for a Nigeria that favors everyone.
Tell us a little about your interactions with government authorities during, before, and after protests.
Okay, I must tell you that from all our demonstrations, we are actually dealing with a very, very insensitive government. This present administration has proven to us that they really do not care what the people think. And it is really, really disturbing to think that a government that, or an administration that rode, on the paths of accountability, transparency, and all of that, can be acting with this kind of impunity that we see today. For instance, when we did the Buhari Act or Quit campaign, which was basically about the fight against corruption, after about 14 days, of daily demonstrations, we decided to write, based on the FOI Act, to the Attorney General of the Federation, asking that information be disclosed to us on the several cases of corruption. For instance, the IGP of police had been alleged of 500 million bribe. You know, we have the minor issue, you know, and other issues like that. So we had written to them, giving them a 21-day ultimatum that they would get back to us. As we speak, I mean, that was last year, November or thereabout. As we speak, we haven't heard from them. And our whole next line of action, you know, is to take the issue to court, because we expect that if we could have requested information based on the FOI Act, then there should be no reason for the government to hold back. The only time we got a meaningful response from the government was during our demonstrations on the slave trade in Libya. And they promised us that 250 Nigerians, you know, will be repatriated on a daily basis. And I must say that they really tried on that, because according to our own records, you know, they've been returning Nigerians from Libya like they said they would. Sometimes 250, sometimes 300, sometimes there was a particular day they brought back Nigerians, about 450 Nigerians, you know, in one day. The last batch came in about 1 a.m. on that particular day. So apart from that one, other issues based on transparency, accountability, this government has really been deaf to it.
Are there areas you think that the movement has recorded failures?
Well, I wouldn't say failure. I would say that because every single campaign that we embark on, you know, has been a conscious effort, you know, to propagate the ideas of the movement, to reawaken Nigerians from their docility. And in all honesty, I think we have been able to achieve that. And we have remained consistent, you know, in that messaging, in our actions and in our demonstrations. So every single demonstration, every single campaign, every single intervention. I mean, there was a time we had to go to Imo State to intervene after the Ekeoku market was demolished in Owerri by the Rocha Sokorocha-led administration. And we had to solidarize with the family of Somtochukwu's mother, a 10-year-old boy, you know, that lost his life during that whole saga. And what we basically did, you know, apart from, you know, telling the government to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book, was to source for funds for the family so that they can be able to sustain themselves.
So you're saying the movement has not recorded any failures?
In my own book, I think we have done well, and we'll do even better by the time we have more human and capital resources.
In evaluation of the movement's progress, would there be any structural changes that will be made ahead of 2019 elections?
Well, about structural changes, I do not know, but I can tell you for a fact that our plan, you know, is to mobilize Nigerians, harness their intellectual, artistic, and cultural resources, and network them into a political force, a political movement, you know, to fight back political elitism, corruption, and incompetence in governance, and redirect governance, you know, towards empowering the people, the dignity, the restoration of the dignity of the people, and freedom for the people. So we are going to be leveraging on arts, entertainment, and technology to bring about the different programs that we have set out for this particular year. I can tell you for a fact that, you know, we have 3 different major flagship programs, you know, for the first 2 quarters of this year alone. So it's going to be a very busy year for us, and we are going to be focusing on, as I said earlier, sensitization, you know, which is really key, and encouraging the youth and also the women, you know, to take part in the political process, you know, and yeah, that's it.
Will there be any new alliances formed?
Well, most definitely, because the movement is, as we have always said, a coalition of all angry, vexed, and frustrated Nigerians. And we are a network of artisans, activists, artists, musicians, employed, underemployed, farmers, journalists, like you. So the major thing that brings us together is our strong desire for a Nigeria that works for everyone. And all it takes for anyone to be part of the Mumu Don't Do movement is for you to be disenchanted with the failings in government, in our moral institutions, the religious institutions, and the general societal decay, that has kept us in this whirlpool of stagnancy. So definitely we are going to be collaborating with new groups who are also interested in good governance and a Nigeria that works for everyone. We are open to collaborating with CSOs, NGOs, revolutionist movements, individuals and organizations that are really, really interested, in a Nigeria that works for everybody.
With all of your activity, all of the activities that you have mentioned, what does Mumu Don't Do expect on election day 2019?
One thing that we hope to achieve, in the coming elections is a terrain where the voters exercise their franchise in all honesty, where people vote not because of what they are going to be given, but because of what their conscience dictates or what their conscience tells them to do, because it is important that we move away from that transactional politics and democratize and popularize politics for people to be able to vote for whosoever they feel like voting for without caring whether the person wins or not, but ensuring that they follow their conscience. I mean, in Kenya, 23-year-olds are being elected into legislative positions. So, I mean, just recently now, George Weah has been inaugurated as, the president of Liberia. So if these things can happen in other countries, then it can happen here in Nigeria too. Because for the Mumu Don't Do movement, yes, we are open to collaborating with everybody. Yes, we want everybody to be part of the movement, but we are particularly interested in the millennials because the more than 60% of the population of this country is dominated by the youths. So we believe that the youths, hold the key to solving the myriads of problems that we have in this country. So yes, the coming elections, we want to see a platform where the youths can express themselves, where our women can express themselves, and where the people can exercise their franchise, without fear or compromise.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raphael Adebayo, for joining.